Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Okay, and here we go. Now I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the Miss Marvel series. Of course, like with the Marvels being released officially tomorrow, this is of course like the Disney Plus series that is in connection with it. So it does make sense to actually talk about it now. Like as I've said before, when there is like a an upcoming Marvel movie that is approaching, I would talk about the series that the movie is actually connected with. And I've already talked about the WandaVision as well as the first season of Loki. And this is just the third Marvel show that I've seen now. And like going into this series, I wasn't really too sure exactly what to expect with it because I didn't really know what who Miss Marvel really was, and I really wasn't too sure what her relation really was to Captain Marvel. So I went into this series as I started watching it, I just had a went in with just an absolutely a blank mindset about what to expect with it. Yeah, and I did give the show a watch, and yeah, this was a pretty different sort of a project for Marvel. I mean, it's just this was something that we never had really actually seen Marvel do before. It was this is kind of like what I was talking about with WandaVision back when I talked about that show. How that was really just very different than what we had seen from Marvel before. Yeah, and this was another one of those. This was just just it was just very different from what we have seen from Marvel before. And what they did with it, it was pretty interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So this show follows a teenage girl named Kamala Khan. And it shows how she's kind of in a situation that is kind of similar to Peter Parker. Yeah, she's a teenager, and it shows how she really doesn't fit in, and really just a kind of a loner. Yeah, but just and a lot like Peter Parker, when she does gain powers, it shows how things really do change for her. Yeah. Of course, she's not exactly doesn't exactly go through the same transformation or same origin that Peter Parker had. But it is just the setup for her is very similar to Peter Parker. Yeah, and what they did with it, like I said, it was a pretty interesting what they did with it. Yeah, what I did find kind of interesting about it was unlike WandaVision and Loki, this show has a totally different lots of characters, and it really doesn't follow a character that we have that we already know. It is actually treated as an origin story for a completely new character. And some of these Marvel shows have done that. There's of course Moon Knight and She Hulk, and and then I'm sure there'll be some more coming as well. So that is something interesting. The Marvel shows on Disney Plus have been doing is that they really have also been introducing some new characters, and not all of the shows are set a follow a character that we've already seen in the movies. Yeah, and that was the case here. So uh, so this show features a totally different cast of characters. Yeah, and it doesn't really feature anybody from the movies, well, aside from the very end of the last episode of the show where Captain Marvel actually does appear. So what they did with it, it was I think they did a pretty good job with it. Like I said, I didn't really know anything about Miss Marvel, so I really don't know how accurate this show really is to the comics. But yeah, as its own thing, this still I did overall think that this was a pretty enjoyable show. Yeah, yeah. So this is like a it's a 6 episode miniseries. So yeah, so it's not like how WandaVision was, where it was like a like it had like a it was like treated like an entire season, and the same thing with Loki. He how like it was a full season, and season 2 has just recently come out. Yeah, it's not really treated like that. It really is treated like a mini series. So similar to like the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, how yeah, it's really just a mini series, and yeah, and it has yeah, it consists of 6 episodes. Yeah, and throughout the 6 episodes, it really does like tell this story. Like it starts off just showing like how uh, Kamala Khan, like how she's a how she really is a very like obsessive for the Avengers, and yeah, and her main idol is of course Captain Marvel. Yeah, and like I said, it shows how she really doesn't really fit in with anybody. Yeah, and it shows also like how her parents are pretty strict on her, and she kind of does have like a strained relationship with her parents. Yeah, yeah, and then eventually, when one day she ends up receiving a package from her grandmother that included a golden bangle. Yeah, and then as she then went to Avenger Con on on with her Captain Marvel cosplay costume, and like the bangle was she used that as part of the cosplay, and then as she attended Avenger Con, as she put the bangle on, she eventually discovered how the bangle actually has the ability to pro- project constructs of cosmic energy. Yeah, and you just see these purple force fields forming due to the um the bangle. Yeah, then of course with her just seeing what it does, like initially all it ended up just causing havoc, and then but then in the whole havoc, Kamala ended up saving one of her classmates. Yeah, yeah, then when then eventually the agents of the Department of Damage Control then saw a video that was recorded at AvengerCon of the incident. Then they decided to head to New Jersey and detain her. Yeah, yeah, then then as the series progressed, heading into the second episode, as a Kamala then was trying to learn how to actually control her powers with the bangle. Yeah, yeah. Eventually, then like um uh, Kamala ended up meeting another a kid named Kamran, and then like she then was spending a lot of time with him, but then like eventually Kamala ended up seeing this vision of a mysterious woman. Yeah, and then uh like as Kamala eventually ended up asking her mother and her grandmother about her great grandmother Aisha, who was the original owner of the bangle. Both of them just were dismissive of it. Yeah, yeah, and then as the um agents of the DODC, agents P. Cleary and Sadie Deaver, as they started to question the girl that Kamala saved at AvengerCon about her savior. Then, when they really couldn't get any answers, they then just ordered a sweep of the tri-state area. Yeah, and their main target was of South Asian communities. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and then there was this incident at in Eid al Adha celebration where there was this boy that was slipping from a balcony and almost fell, but Kamala was able to use her powers to save him. As he was falling, she used her powers to make these platforms for the boy to land on so he wouldn't fall to the ground. Yeah. Then eventually the agents then uh located Kamala, and as they were trying to go after her, like Kamran ended up saving Kamala. Then yeah, then he also introduced Kamala to her mother named Najma. Yeah, and this was actually the woman from Kamala's vision. Yeah, so yeah, and when she saw the mother, she was very shocked to see that this was the woman that was in her vision. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, then yeah, and that was the end of the second episode. It just really ended on a cliffhanger like that. Yeah. Yeah. Then yeah. Then as the series continued, Najma was telling Kamala that both her and Kamran are part of a group of these enhanced beings that are known as the clandestines. Yeah. And they're claiming to be visions that were exiled from the Nor dimension. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then she asked for Kamal's help in using the Bengal to let them actually return to the Nor dimension. Yeah, and yeah, then yeah, and Kamal initially agreed to it, but her best friend Bruno was warning her that it could be dangerous to travel interdimensionally. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and then eventually then as um uh, Kamala's brother um uh, Amir was getting married to his fiance the wedding ended up being crashed hash when like um Kamran and some other clandestines arrived. Yeah, and yeah, then yeah, and then as um uh, Najma tried to use the bangle. It ended up triggering a vision of a train. Yeah, then yeah, then eventually the DODC arrived and then captured all the clandestines, which included Kamran. Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, then as like as yeah, sorry, had a little bit of a dry throat right there. All right, anyway, continuing. Yeah, then yeah, and as Kamala, his other friend Nakia saw Kamala using her powers, then um uh, eventually Kamala got a call from her grandmother Sana, and then as she was just telling Kamala that she also saw the vision of the train and asked Kamala and her mother Uniba to come to Karachi to see her. Yeah, and yeah, and then as they then traveled to Karachi, yeah, Sana revealed to Kamal that the Bengal is actually trying to convey a message through visions of the train. Yeah, then yeah, then as Kamala was supposedly um touring Karachi with her cousins, she ended up sneaking off to the train station to try to investigate, but then she ended up being ambushed by a member of this vigilante group who known as the Red Daggers named Kareem. He initially ended up thinking she was one of the clandestines, but he eventually discovered that she wasn't. Yeah. And yeah, and then as he brought her back to the Red Dagger's hideout, they then explained to Kamala that Um, uh, the clandestines are actually trying to break the veil of the door. I mean, the veil of Nor, rather. Sorry, which like actually separated the Nor dimension from the real world. The world to expand and take over. Then um uh, eventually the clandestines escaped from the DODC's prison, and then Najma ended up abandoning Kamran for betraying her. And then eventually like as Kamala was still training with Red Daggers to master the power some more. The clandestines interrupted, and then during a chase, the leader of the Red Daggers, Walid, ended up killing one of the clandestine members, but then Najma killed him in response, and then eventually Kareem ended up killing another one of the clandestines, and then and in the chaos, Najma ended up accidentally stabbing the bangle, and then it just sent Kamala back in time to the period of the partition. Yeah. And then in the fifth episode, then this is where in this episode it talked about the backstory of Kamala's great grandmother. Like uh like in the fifth episode, it's set back in the time that Kamala was sent to in 1942 in India, where Aisha ended up taking refuge in a village where an Indian independence activist Hassan offered her shelter and food, and as they ended up eventually falling in love and then having a child, which was Kamala's grandmother Sana. Yeah, and as 5 years passed, Najma found Aisha and then ordered her to retrieve the bangle, but then Aisha just refused and left it with Sana. And then as she attempted to flee to Pakistan with her family, Najma ended up finding her and then just stabbed her. Then and then as Hassan and Sana were just ended up separated. Kamala, being in the time period, able to actually interact with her great grandmother, asked to um, asked her to guide Sana before she died. And then and as she was able to conjure a projection of stars that hers to lead Sana back to her father. Kamala then realized that she's is actually the one that reunited them, based on the stories that her parents have told her of these events. Yeah. And then eventually, Kamala ended up returning to the present time and discovering that Najma has actually opened the Veil of Nor, but nobody could actually cross through, and it just ended up vaporizing everyone that actually interacted with it. And so then Najma then decided to sacrifice herself to close the veil, and ended up transferring her powers to Kamran in the process. Yeah, and then eventually, Kamala reunited with her mother and her grandmother, and they now knew about Kamala's powers and accepted it. Yeah, yeah. And then it then showed how the DODC then attacked both Bruno and Kamran that were seeking refuge, and then they ended up destroying the drone, and then they ended up like the explosion just ended up obliterating the store that they were just hiding out just above. Then and then the final episode, it shows how the DODC is still trying to find them, and Beaver is ordering a citywide lockdown as Bruno and Cameron are on the run. Then yeah, and then eventually, then Kamala then made herself a disguise after like a gift of if that's a like this new costume that her mother made her, as well as like a mask from Bruno. Yeah, then yeah, and then she donned on this mask to disguise herself. Yeah, and eventually she ended up like reuniting with Bruno and Kamran. Yeah, then yeah, and then after they met up back with Nakia, Amir, and Zimmer, the girl that Kamala had saved at AvengerCon, they then tried to stall the DODC agents. Yeah, and yeah, and then as a retreat was ordered by Cleary, Deaver just refused, and then led a detachment to storm the school that Kamala and her friends were hiding at. Yeah, then yeah, and then as they then had the standoff with the agents, and it's everybody except Kamala and Kamran were captured, and then as they confronted Deaver, she ended up attacking him, but Kamala was able to fight the agents off to allow everyone else to escape. Yeah, yeah, then yeah, and eventually, like uh, due to Deaver not listening to orders from Cleary, she ended up just being relieved of her duty and withdrew. Yeah, yeah, then yeah, and with Kamala, with her heroic antics, she was then became very beloved in the community and labeled herself as Miss Marvel. Earl, Earl, and then yeah, then it just showed how she had a real heart to heart moment with her father. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then yeah, and then like Kamran then just ended up fleeing to Pakistan and then met Kareem. He, due to an arrangement from Kamala. Yeah, and yeah, and then like uh, it then cut to a week later where it showed how then Bruno just was talking to Kamala, saying how she actually has a genetic mutation that the rest of her family lacks. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, and then at the very end of the episode, in the mid credits, like uh, like as Kamala was in her room, she saw that the bangle emitted some strange glow, and then it just then showed how Kamala ended up switching places with Captain Marvel, the actual Captain Marvel, with Brie Larson, like uh actually in the role still. So yeah, and then that's how it ended. So yeah, so I really don't know how this is really going to work, like how, what will actually be carried over to the Marvels film, and like uh what this is really suggesting with Kamala and the actual Captain Marvel switching places like this. I guess we'll find out in the actual movie. Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, so like I said, this was admittedly a pretty different kind of project that Marvel has done compared to the other things that they've done. Like a lot, of, particularly just with it being a lot of mid Eastern stuff. Yeah, it just is a very different take. Yeah, but yeah, I still did like what it did. The story that they gave for Kamala in the film, it's pretty interesting. Like I said, it is very similar to Peter Parker and Spider Man. Yeah, it even shows how she really one of her abilities is that how she can real extend her arms and stuff like that, and yeah, she uses it to punch and stuff. If so they do kind of it is interesting the abilities that she has from the uh, uh that she does actually have from the bangle. Yeah. So yeah, so it's interesting what it does. Yeah, and yeah, and going forward, I'm not really too sure exactly what her connection will actually be with Captain Marvel. It'll be interesting to see how she actually does join up with Captain Marvel, and what stuff from the show is actually going to carry over to the movie. Yeah. But yeah, I did enjoy this series. I don't know whether to say whether I did actually enjoy it more over like the other two that I have said. And I don't really like know how to really rank it among like Loki and WandaVision, but yeah, I still overall I did enjoy the show. Like it was like creative what they did with it. It was an interesting story. Yeah, and it'll be like interesting to really see like what they are planning to do with Miss Marvel going forward with her like with her being of course like featured in the Marvels movie. And yeah, and we'll just see like how she actually does join up with Captain Marvel and what sort of connection that they will really have in the movie and even like going forward into the MCU. Yeah, I guess time will tell like how that does go. All right, so yeah, so overall yeah, a pretty good show and I did enjoy it. All right. So yeah, so I guess those are, so I guess like that's the best way I can put it. All right. So yeah, so I guess this is all I really have to say about it. All right. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on the Miss Marvel show. Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoy what I had to say about the show. Yeah. And tomorrow the Marvels is officially released, and yeah, and I am gonna go see it tomorrow. So yeah, so tomorrow I will probably make a video to give my thoughts on the Marvels movie. So stay tuned for that coming up tomorrow. All right, but yeah, so yeah, yeah, so I guess this is it. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on Miss Marvel. So I hope you guys enjoy what I had to say. Yeah, and like I said, stay tuned tomorrow or for my thoughts on the Marvels movie. All right. So yeah, so that's it for this video. So I hope you guys enjoy. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.